The Confederation Council chamber fell silent as the human delegation entered. Cataline walked with measured steps, her polished boots clicking against the crystalline floor. Behind her, Lystrin and 3 other humans followed, their expressions unreadable behind carefully neutral faces. Ambassador Thelvax of the Kryn hegemony studied them with his 6 compound eyes, noting the strange simplicity of their uniforms. No ceremonial armor, no plasma shields humming with defensive energy, no gravitic enhancers to demonstrate their species' technological prowess. Just dark fabric, some metal insignia, and an unsettling confidence that seemed to radiate from their very presence. The humans, Thelvax announced, his translator converting his chittering into standard galactic. You arrive at an interesting time. Cataline stopped before the elevated council platform, looking up at the assembled representatives of 17 spacefaring civilizations. We received your distress call, she said simply. The Devourers have broken through the Veil Nebula. You need soldiers. A ripple of uncomfortable acknowledgement passed through the chamber. The Devourers, a hive-minded species that consumed entire worlds, had been contained for 3 centuries behind the natural barrier of the nebula. Until now, we need generals, corrected High Commander Zertoth, his crystalline body refracting the chamber's light into rainbow patterns. Strategists, your species was evaluated as potential auxiliary forces. Lystrin's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Cataline noticed but didn't react. With respect, Commander, Cataline said, you don't need more strategists. You have 17 species worth of tactical databases, predictive algorithms, and war game simulations. What you need is what humans do best. And what is that? Thelvax leaned forward, genuinely curious. We break things that need breaking. The council chamber erupted in a cacophony of translated objections. How dare this species barely a century into faster-than-light travel presumed to understand galactic warfare better than civilizations that had mastered the stars for millennia? Cataline waited for the noise to subside. When it didn't, she simply raised her voice. Show us your casualty reports from the last engagement. The holographic display materialized in the center of the chamber. 7 Confederation warships, each crewed by hundreds, had engaged 3 Devour vessels. The battle had lasted for hours. All 7 Confederation ships were destroyed. 2 Devour ships survived and continued to ward inhabited systems. Your ships are technologically superior, Lystrin spoke for the first time, his voice carrying a rough edge that made several council members flinch. Better shields, better weapons, better engines. But you fight like you're afraid to die. That is logical, Zertoth stated flatly. Preservation of life and resources is paramount to sustained. That's why you're losing. Cataline interrupted. The Devourers don't care about preservation. They're not afraid of death. Every battle you fight, you're calculating acceptable losses and retreat thresholds. They're calculating how to take you with them. She gestured to the hologram, and with a flick of her wrist interfacing with her neural implant, she overlaid a new tactical display. You keep your ship's information, maintain support distances, coordinate fire patterns. It's beautiful. It's logical. It's completely wrong for this enemy. The new simulation played out. Human ships smaller, less shielded broke formation immediately. They didn't coordinate. They swarmed. Each vessel independently targeted critical systems on the Devour ships, pressing attacks even when sustaining catastrophic damage. When one human ship's reactor went critical, the captain didn't retreat. She ran the Devour vessel's engine cluster. The simulation ended with all human ships destroyed, but all 3 Devour vessels dead in space. Unacceptable losses, Thelvax whispered, his translator barely able to convey his horror. Acceptable results, Cataline countered. The colony behind you survives. 17 billion souls continue existing. That's the mission. You would sacrifice your own people so readily. Zertoth's crystalline voice carried something that might have been disgust. Lystrin stepped forward, and for the first time, the council saw something in his eyes that made their evolutionary threat recognition systems scream. You don't understand humans, Commander. We don't sacrifice readily. Every death costs us something you can't quantify. But we've spent our entire evolutionary history fighting and dying for things that mattered: our families, our tribes, our ideas. We learned something you species never had to learn. What? The question came from a small Velen representative, barely visible behind her console. That sometimes the only way to protect what you love is to become what your enemy fears. Cataline pulled up another hologram Earth's history, compressed into a horrifying montage. Civilizations rising and falling. Wars fought with sticks, stones, metal, chemistry, nuclear fire. Billions dead across millennia of conflict. And yet, humanity persisting, adapting, learning. We didn't send you generals. Cataline said quietly. We sent you what Earth has always produced when survival was on the line. We sent you killers who learned to wear army suits. We learned strategy and tactics and logistics because they make us more efficient at what we've always done. She looked each council member in their various visual organs. You wanted auxiliaries, polite reinforcements that would follow your battle doctrines and make your casualties look better on reports. That's not what's walking off our ships. Lystrin pulled up fleet deployment data. 20,000 human soldiers had arrived in the system, not in massive warships, but in converted cargo vessels, troop transports, and retrofit civilian craft, each one packed with humans who had volunteered when Earth had broadcast the Confederation's plight. We're boarding craft specialists, Lystrin explained. Close quarters combat experts, demolition technicians. Every human in our fleet has trained for one thing: getting inside Devour vessels and killing everything we find there. The Devourers are biologically superior in close combat. Zirtoth objected. Faster, stronger, more heavily armored than any Confederation species. You'll be slaughtered. Cataline smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. Commander, humans aren't the fastest species we evolved alongside. We're not the strongest, not the best climbers or swimmers or flyers, but we learned to hunt things that were better than us in every way. And we learned the most important lesson in nature, which is persistence, Lystrin answered. When a human decides something needs to die, it dies. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually, inevitably, we break it. The council chamber was silent. Give us your worst battle, Cataline said. The engagement you've been avoiding, because the casualties would be unthinkable. The Devour hive ship that's too big, too well defended, too costly to assault. Thelvax's translator remained silent for a long moment. Then, Sector 447, Devour Command Vessel Omega Class, 30 kilometers long. Estimated crew complement of 50,000. Currently consuming the outer planets of the Gerald system. Projected to reach the inhabited worlds in 4 standard cycles. We'll take it. Cataline said simply. It's a suicide mission, Zirtoth stated. Our models predict a 0.003% chance of mission success. Lystrin was already moving toward the exit. The other humans following. Your models don't account for what happens when humans stop playing defense, he called back. Cataline paused at the chamber entrance. Commander, Ambassador, you've spent 3 centuries containing the Devourers because you fight the kind of war your civilizations understand. War with rules, with acceptable parameters, with logical endpoints. Humans learned a different kind of war. The kind where victory is the only acceptable outcome. She left them with one final thought. Earth didn't send generals. Because you don't need more people to plan elegant battles. You need people who will walk into hell with a smile, because that's where the enemy is. You needed killers. You just needed them in army suits so you could pretend we're civilized. The council watched the humans leave, and for the first time since the Devourers had broken containment, several of them felt something unfamiliar. Hope mixed with terror at what they'd just unleashed. In the end, they would learn what humanity had known since it first looked up at predators in the darkness and decided to hunt them instead. Some wars aren't won by superior technology or brilliant strategy. Some wars are won by those willing to become the monsters their enemies fear.